Hi LCS students, it's Mrs. Peterson here. Today we're going to be making artwork like artist Henry Matisse. Now, Henry Matisse was famous for making collages. A collage is a work of art that's made by cutting paper and then gluing it together in a new way. So you're going to need 2 pieces of paper for this project. You're also going to need some scissors, you're also going to need some glue, and you're going to need either markers or crayons or colored pencil. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to write my name and my room number on both of my pieces of paper. So I'll just start with this paper because I have it in front of me. Now I'm going to be holding my paper horizontally today, which means I'm going to be holding it side to side. So I'm just gonna flip this one over, and this paper we're going to eventually be cutting up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take different colors of marker and I'm just going to color different areas of my paper. And when I color this, I'm gonna try to color nice, big areas of my paper because we're going to be cutting this out eventually. So here's the big area that's pink. And then right next to that, I'm just going to close my marker and get a different color. And you can use whatever colors you want. You don't have to copy my colors. And I'm going to do another area of my paper blue. And then I'm just going to keep doing that until I fill up my whole piece of paper with nice big, not tiny areas today because we're going to have to cut out. So I'm going to make nice big areas of color all over my paper. These 2 are probably about the size that you need, okay? So I'm going to pause the video right there. I'm just going to continue filling up my paper and I'll see you back here in a little bit. So now I'm just putting my last color on my paper. I decided I wanted to do black. And as I said before, I'm filling up my whole paper with big areas of color. The bigger, the better for this project. And if you need to, you could always make another piece of paper and have even more colors. So 1 page is just the starting point. So I'm almost finished here. And another thing I want to remind you about while I'm finishing coloring is that if you miss a step or you get a little bit behind in the video, that's okay. You can always just pause it and go back. That's the great thing about YouTube. So now I have my paper completely filled up with big areas of color, and I'm ready to start making my collage, which is when I'm cutting up pieces of paper and gluing them to a big piece of paper to make a new work of art. So for this project, I'm asking you to make a collage that has geometric and organic shapes. Geometric shapes are shapes that you learn about in math class, and they're shapes that have names like circles, triangles, rectangles, squares, and so on. Organic shapes are free-form shapes that are not even, they're not the same, and they're shapes that you're pretty much making up. So when I look at my paper, I'm going to make some shapes that are geometric and some shapes that are organic. So let me start with some geometric shapes. Maybe I want to make, just drawing on top of this with pencil. I know it's a little bit hard to see. I'm going to make a rectangle. Maybe I want to make a triangle. And I even have room in here to draw some tinier triangles. Maybe I want to make a heart. What else could I make? Maybe a semicircle, which is half of a circle. And then the rest of these I'm going to draw organic shapes. I'm just going to draw random shapes that I'm making up. So maybe I just want to do kind of a blob shape here. Maybe I want to do another curvy shape over here. Some organic shapes can be pointy, so maybe I just want to make one pointy. And then I need another organic shape up here, and then on my black paper. So now I have several geometric shapes and several organic shapes. So once I'm finished drawing my shapes, I'm going to cut them out. So let me pause the video right there and I'll grab my scissors and we can go over some cutting techniques. Let's take a minute to talk about scissors. When I hold my scissors, the small hole is for my thumb and the larger hole is for the rest of my fingers. So I'm going to hold my scissors safely and then I'm going to start to cut out my shapes. Now when I cut, I love to turn my paper. That helps me cut a little bit better. Let me show you on this pink shape here. So this was an organic shape that I just made up and I'm going on top of my pencil line and I'm doing my best. I like to turn my paper as I cut out my shape. This is why I told you not to draw anything super tiny, because you're going to have trouble cutting it out if you made it too tiny. So you can always go back with your pencil and erase and draw your shape just a little bit bigger. So there I have one shape cut out. I'm just going to go to my next shape and cut that out. I'm just going to do my very best cutting, trying to stay on the lines as best as I can. And I'm just working to cut out all of my shapes. So I will see you in a minute after I have all these shapes cut out. I've now cut out all of my shapes and I'm going to keep this scrap paper just in case I want to cut out any more shapes because I do have some room left on here. I'm going to move these all to the side and I'm going to get my other piece of paper that already has my name and room number on it. I'm going to flip it over. Once again, I'm keeping my paper horizontal, which means side to side. Now, before I glue down my shapes to make my collage, I'd like to just sit them on my paper and kind of play around with where I would like them to go. So I'm just taking my shapes. Maybe I want to overlap some, put one on top of the other one. And I'm just trying to fill up my paper and I'm gonna make my design however I would like it to be. So I'm gonna look for those empty spaces. I'm going to try to add in all my extra shapes. Now, if I still see some empty spaces that aren't quite filled up the way I would like, I can always go back in and use a little bit of this scrap paper. Like I have some glue left right here. And maybe I'll just cut a piece of that off and then cut out. This would be a really nice triangle. Add in some extra shapes, but that is totally up to you. I think I'm gonna add one more blue triangle for my scrap paper. I'm just gonna cut it and put it onto my paper. Now, once I have all my pieces, just like I like them, I'm going to glue everything down. I'm going to be using a glue stick for that, but you could always use a glue bottle too. When I glue, I'm just going to pick up one piece at a time, and I'm just gonna put a little bit of glue, you don't need a ton, and then I'm going to put that back on top of my paper, right where I took it from. So I'm going to glue all of my pieces on, and then this project is pretty much finished. I have one more piece that I'm gluing on, and then my collage will be complete. Wow, I love how it turned out. Once again, we were learning about artist Henry Matisse, and we made a collage, which is when you make artwork by cutting and gluing paper together to make a new work of art. And we used geometric shapes, and we also used organic shapes. I can't wait to see the masterpieces that you made. See you soon.